In this video, we'll be power scaling every single Naruto character for an entire hour. Let's get started. First up on the list is Kakashi Hatake, Double Mangekyo Peak. Kakashi Hatake, Double Mangekyo Peak. Kakashi Hatake stood on the battlefield during the Fourth Great Ninja War with nothing but his normal eye. Madara Uchiha had ripped out his Sharingan earlier in the war, taking away the eye that defined him as the copy ninja for decades. Naruto patched up the empty socket with his yin-yang release healing, but that was it. Just a normal eye. No more copying jutsu, no more Kamui, no more Sharingan. For most ninja, losing their signature ability would mark the end of their combat relevance in a war against gods. Kakashi was about to prove that sometimes the end is just the beginning. The war against Kaguya Otsutsuki was reaching its peak. Team 7 had reunited. Naruto wielded the power of all 9-tailed beasts plus 6-path Sage Mode. Sasuke had awakened his Rinnegan. Sakura had her monstrous strength from the strength of 100 seal. But they were fighting the mother of all chakra, the progenitor of the Otsutsuki clan, a being who had absorbed the God Tree and become the 10 Tails itself. Even with their God-tier powers, Kaguya was overwhelming them. She could swap dimensions at will. Her all-killing ash bones could disintegrate anyone they touched. Her 80 gods vacuum attack could pummel them with invisible chakra fists from every direction. This was a fight where even the strongest ninja alive were barely surviving. Then Obito Uchiha died. He had sacrificed himself to protect Naruto and Kakashi from one of Kaguya's attacks, taking the hit that would have killed them both. His body lay on the ground, lifeless. His long journey from villain to hero had ended. He was finally going to join Rin in the afterlife, finally going to find peace after years of pain and manipulation. The Pure Land was calling him, but Obito had one more gift to give his best friend. Chakra in the Naruto world connects dimensions. It bridges the gap between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Obito had proven this earlier when he used Kamui to travel between dimensions even while near death. Now, as a spirit passing into the afterlife, he used that same principle one final time. His spirit manifested inside Kakashi's body, and he transferred every ounce of his remaining chakra into his friend. This was not just regular chakra. When Obito had become the 10 Tails Jinchuriki earlier in the war, he had gained access to 6 Paths chakra, the same divine energy that powered the Sage of 6 Paths himself. Even though Obito had lost the 10 Tails, residual traces of that godly chakra remained in his system. Now all of it flowed into Kakashi. Both of Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan manifested in Kakashi's eyes. Not as physical transplants, but as pure chakra constructs powered by Obito's spirit. Kakashi suddenly had both eyes, the left eye that he had carried for decades, and the right eye that Obito had kept all this time. For the first time ever, Kakashi Hatake wielded the complete power of Obito Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan. Obito called it his early gift to Kakashi before he took office as the 6th Hokage, mirroring the moment during the Third Great Ninja War when Obito first gave Kakashi his Sharingan as a gift for becoming a Jonin. The power surge was immediate and overwhelming. Kakashi's body lit up with 6 Paths chakra. His eyes transformed into dual Mangekyo Sharingan, both displaying the unique 3-pointed pinwheel pattern of Kamui. Where before he could only use the long-range version of Kamui, warping distant targets into another dimension, he now had access to both versions. The right eye gave him short-range Kamui, the ability to make his own body intangible by overlapping himself with the Kamui dimension. Anything that tried to hit him would simply phase through him as if he were a ghost. The left eye retained the long-range warping ability, letting him send objects and enemies to the Kamui dimension from a distance. Together, these two abilities created a perfect offensive and defensive system. He could attack without fear of counterattack. He could warp away incoming threats while phasing through anything he could not warp in time. Then came the Susanoo. Every Uchiha with Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes can potentially access Susanoo, the ultimate defense technique that manifests the user's chakra as a giant warrior avatar. But Susanoo normally develops in stages. First comes the skeletal form, just bones and partial protection. Then the humanoid form with muscles and more complete coverage. Then the armored form with actual plating and weapons. Finally, if the user has Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, they can access the complete body form, also called Perfect Susanoo, a colossal titan that can match tailed beasts in size and power. This process usually takes years of training and evolution. Kakashi skipped every single stage. The moment he awakened Dual Mangekyo, he manifested perfect Susanoo instantly. No skeletal form, no gradual evolution, just straight to the final form. This should have been impossible. Kakashi did not have Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He did not even have Uchiha blood, yet there it stood. A complete humanoid titan, dozens of meters tall, colored light blue, according to most accounts, with a distinctive vertical scar running down its left eye, matching Kakashi's own iconic scar from his childhood. The Susanoo wielded a katana in one hand and held a massive Mangekyo-shaped shuriken in the other. It had wings, granting it full flight capability. Most importantly, it carried the properties of Kamui. The Susanoo itself could become intangible, phasing through attacks just like Kakashi's body. This made it not just a defensive barrier, but an untouchable fortress that could attack with impunity. The Six Paths Chakra from Obito explained the impossible. That divine energy amplified everything about the Mangekyo Sharingan. It removed the normal limitations. Regular Mangekyo Sharingan users suffer progressive blindness from overuse. Their chakra drains rapidly with each technique. Kakashi, as a non-Uchiha, had always struggled with even a single Sharingan, nearly exhausting himself from just a few uses. But with Six Paths Chakra flowing through him, these drawbacks vanished. He could spam Kamui repeatedly with no strain. His chakra reserves felt bottomless. His eyes did not deteriorate. He had achieved a level of Mangekyo mastery that exceeded even legendary Uchiha clan members. The Six Paths Chakra also explained why he jumped straight to perfect Susanoo. That godly energy supercharged his abilities to their maximum potential right from the start. Kakashi immediately put his new powers to work against Kaguya. His Kamui speed had doubled. Where before he needed a few seconds to warp targets away, now he could do it almost instantly with both eyes working in tandem. When Kaguya unleashed her all-killing Ash Bones, an attack that disintegrates anything it touches on a molecular level, Kakashi warped them away to the Kamui dimension faster than anyone else could react. His response time with the technique outpaced even Naruto in Six Paths Sage Mode, a feat that demonstrated just how much the dual Mangekyo amplified his reflexes. Naruto, who could sense malice and danger before attacks even launched, could not react as quickly as Kakashi did with both Kamui eyes active. That reaction speed alone placed Kakashi in a tier above almost every other ninja alive. His perfect Susanoo joined the battle with devastating effect. When Kaguya transformed into an amalgamation of all the tailed beasts, sprouting massive chakra arms to crush Team 7, Kakashi's Susanoo hurled its Kamui shuriken at the appendages. These were not normal shuriken. They were gigantic Mangekyo-shaped projectiles that carried the warping power of Kamui. Anything they touched got instantly transported to the Kamui dimension. The shuriken tore through multiple tailed beast arms, severing them and warping them away before Kaguya could regenerate. Even the slightest contact triggered the dimensional banishment. This gave the technique insane range and versatility. Kakashi could attack from a distance while his Susanoo's intangibility protected him from retaliation. But the real game changer was Kamui Raikiri. Kakashi had always been known for his lightning blade, the Raikiri technique he developed as a young ninja. The move channeled massive amounts of lightning chakra into his hand, creating a blade of electricity capable of cutting through nearly anything. It had been his signature killing technique for decades. He had used it to assassinate enemies, pierce through defenses, and even earned the name Lightning Cutter after allegedly splitting a bolt of lightning with it. Now, with dual Kamui eyes and Six Paths Chakra, Kakashi evolved the technique to its ultimate form. He infused his Raikiri with the power of Kamui, creating a hybrid technique that combined physical piercing with dimensional warping. When Kakashi activated Kamui Raikiri, lightning chakra crackled around his hand just like the original technique. But now, as he thrust forward, his entire body became intangible through short-range Kamui. He could phase through any defense or counterattack. His hand, charged with Raikiri, would pierce the target with the full force of his strongest lightning technique. Then, the instant his Raikiri made contact, Kamui activated automatically. Whatever the lightning blade cut would be immediately warped into the Kamui dimension. The technique bypassed durability in two ways. First, Raikiri had to physically pierce through the target's body, which meant it had to overcome their natural toughness. Second, once pierced, Kamui would warp away the cut portion, removing it from reality entirely. This made Kamui Raikiri unstoppable. Even if the target had regeneration abilities, they could not regenerate what no longer existed in their dimension. Kakashi used Kamui Raikiri to strike Kaguya Otsutsuki directly. He charged at the Mother of Chakra with his lightning-infused hand glowing. Kaguya, who had casually swatted away attacks from Naruto and Sasuke, could not react in time. The Kamui Raikiri pierced through her arm with incomprehensible speed, severing it cleanly. The databook entry for this technique explicitly states it achieves divine speed, hitting so fast that even Kaguya's perception could not track it. The arm Kakashi cut did not just fall off. It was torn from reality and banished to the Kamui dimension, preventing Kaguya from immediately regenerating it. This was a feat neither Naruto with his truth-seeking orbs nor Sasuke with his Rinnegan had managed to accomplish alone. They had struggled to even graze Kaguya in combat. Kakashi tagged her clean with a technique that did lasting damage. This moment cemented Kakashi's position in the battle. He was not just support, he was not just defending while the main characters did the heavy lifting. Kakashi had become a legitimate threat to an Otsutsuki-level opponent. His perfect Susanoo provided impenetrable defense through intangibility. His Kamui warping removed threats before they could land. His Kamui Raikiri could injure enemies that even six-path Sage Mode Naruto struggled to damage. For those brief moments during the fight against Kaguya, Kakashi stood as one of the strongest beings in the entire Naruto universe. Some arguments suggest he temporarily surpassed even Naruto and Sasuke in combat effectiveness due to his ability to bypass defenses entirely and remain untouchable through intangibility. The power came with a time limit. Obito had been clear about that. This was a temporary gift, powered entirely by his remaining chakra. Once that chakra ran out, the dual Mangekyo Sharingan would disappear. Kakashi could not sustain it indefinitely. Every technique he used, every second the Susanoo remained active, every Kamui warp burned through Obito's borrowed energy. But it lasted long enough. Team 7 worked together to create the opening they needed. Kakashi's Kamui Raikiri wounded Kaguya and disrupted her assault. Naruto and Sasuke pressed the advantage, coordinating their attacks to surround her. When Kaguya tried to escape by dimension hopping, Sakura punched her back down, forcing her to stay in place. Then Naruto and Sasuke made contact simultaneously, activating the seal that Hagoromo Otsutsuki had given them. The Six Paths Chibaku Tensei technique trapped Kaguya, sealing her away along with Black Zetsu in a moon-sized prison that was then banished to another dimension. The war was over, Kaguya was sealed. The infinite Tsukuyomi was about to be undone, and just as predicted, Kakashi's dual Mangekyo Sharingan faded away. The chakra construct that Obito's spirit had created dissolved. The perfect Susanoo vanished. The Six Paths chakra left his body. Kakashi was left with just his normal eyes again, no Sharingan at all. He would never access this power again. Obito was gone. His spirit departed to the afterlife. The borrowed chakra was spent. Double Mangekyo Kakashi existed for only a fraction of the war, appearing specifically for the final battle against Kaguya and disappearing the moment that battle concluded. Yet the impact of that brief power-up rippled through the entire power scaling of the series. Kakashi had demonstrated that with the right combination of abilities and chakra, even a non-Uchiha could reach heights that rivaled the gods. His perfect Susanoo joined the ranks of the strongest defensive techniques in the series. His Kamui Raikiri became one of the most lethal offensive techniques ever shown, capable of bypassing any defense and removing targets from existence. His combat speed with dual Kamui outpaced Six Paths Sage Mode Naruto's reactions. His overall threat level during those moments placed him firmly in the top tier of the Naruto universe, competing with Sage of Six Paths level fighters. This version of Kakashi represents his absolute peak power. War Arc Kakashi with a single Mangekyo was already Kage level, respected as one of the strongest ninja alive. But double Mangekyo Kakashi with Six Paths chakra transcended that completely. He entered a realm where he could legitimately fight and damage Otsutsuki clan members, beings who sit at the absolute pinnacle of power in the Naruto world. Even Madara Uchiha with both Rinnegan and Ten Tails power could not claim to have injured Kaguya the way Kakashi did. That alone speaks to how absurdly powerful this temporary state made him. The scaling debates around double Mangekyo Kakashi continue in the fanbase to this day. Some argue he briefly became the strongest Mangekyo Sharingan user in history, surpassing even Madara with eternal Mangekyo. Others point out the temporary nature and borrowed power, suggesting it does not truly count as his own strength. But the feats speak for themselves. He manifested perfect Susanoo instantly. He kept pace with Otsutsuki-level fighters. He landed hits that Naruto and Sasuke could not. He phased through attacks that would have killed anyone else. He warped away threats that no other defensive technique could stop. For those crucial minutes against Kaguya, Kakashi Hatake stood equal to gods, and that cannot be taken away from him regardless of how he got there. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Itachi Uchiha. Itachi Uchiha stood in the shadows of the Naruto world as one of its most dangerous mysteries. The prodigy who graduated from the academy at 7 years old. The genius who became a Chunin at 10. The killer who wiped out his entire clan at 13. For years, fans and characters alike saw him as a villain, the cold-blooded murderer who destroyed the Uchiha clan and left his younger brother Sasuke traumatized and alone. But when the truth finally came out, everything changed. Itachi had killed his clan to prevent a coup that would have destroyed the Hidden Leaf village. He joined the Akatsuki as a spy to monitor threats from within. He lived his entire life as a double agent, hated by everyone, all to protect the village and his brother. That level of sacrifice made him a tragic hero, but what made him truly terrifying was his power. The Mangekyo Sharingan sat in both of Itachi's eyes, awakened when he witnessed his best friend, Shisui Uchiha, commit suicide. These were not eternal Mangekyo Sharingan eyes. Itachi never transplanted another pair of eyes to gain that permanent upgrade. He kept his original Mangekyo Sharingan throughout his life, which meant he suffered from progressive blindness with every use. The more he activated his Mangekyo abilities, the more his vision deteriorated. By the time he fought Sasuke for the last time, Itachi was nearly blind, relying mostly on memory and prediction to fight. This limitation should have crippled him, but Itachi's abilities were so overwhelmingly powerful that even with failing eyesight and terminal illness, he remained one of the deadliest ninja alive. His left eye wielded Tsukuyomi, arguably the most terrifying genjutsu technique in the entire series. When Itachi made eye contact with an opponent and activated Tsukuyomi, he trapped them in an illusionary world where he controlled everything: time, space, gravity, mass, all of it bent to his will. In the real world, Tsukuyomi lasted only a fraction of a second, but inside the genjutsu, Itachi could torture his victim for what felt like 72 hours straight. He demonstrated this technique against Kakashi Hatake early in the series, leaving the elite Jonin hospitalized and bedridden for weeks from just one use. Itachi himself stated that only someone with Sharingan eyes and Uchiha blood could hope to break Tsukuyomi, which meant almost every opponent who faced him had no counter to this technique. One look into his eyes meant complete psychological destruction. His right eye controlled Amaterasu, the black flame said to burn as hot as the sun. When Itachi focused on a target and activated Amaterasu, black fire would materialize on whatever he looked at. These flames would not stop burning until they completely consumed their target. They could not be extinguished by water, wind, or conventional means. Even powerful ninja struggled to defend against Amaterasu. The technique burned through nearly any defense and continued spreading until nothing remained. Itachi could use this offensively or defensively, creating walls of black fire or targeting specific enemies from a distance. The chakra cost was massive, and the technique strained his eyes severely, but the payoff made it worth using in critical moments. Then came Susanoo. Every Uchiha who awakens Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes gains access to this ultimate defense technique, but Itachi's Susanoo was special. Most Susanoo users had to gradually evolve their Susanoo through multiple stages, starting with skeletal forms and slowly building up to more complete versions. Itachi could manifest his Susanoo's armored form almost instantly. His Susanoo appeared as a humanoid warrior, colored orange and red in the anime, with a distinctive Tengu-like face featuring a long nose and Magatama earrings. But the true power of Itachi's Susanoo came from the two ethereal weapons it wielded, weapons so legendary that even Black Zetsu called Itachi invincible because of them. In its left hand, the Susanoo held the Yata Mirror, a shield that could change its chakra nature to match any incoming attack. If someone fired a fire technique at Itachi, the Yata Mirror would shift to water nature and nullify it. If they used lightning, it would become earth. Physical attacks, spiritual attacks, elemental ninjutsu, all of them could be reflected or neutralized by this shield. The mirror adapted instantly to any threat, making it nearly impossible to damage Itachi's Susanoo from the front. No one in the series ever managed to break through the Yata mirror's defense. It earned its reputation as an invincible shield, and that reputation held up throughout every battle where Itachi used it. In its primary right hand, the Susanoo wielded the Totsuka blade, also called the Sword of Totsuka or the Sakigari longsword. This was not a physical weapon. The Totsuka blade existed as a liquid sword sealed inside a sake gourd that the Susanoo held in its second right hand. When Itachi thrust with this blade, it would extend out as a shimmering ethereal weapon. Anyone or anything the blade pierced would be immediately sealed away into the gourd forever, trapped in a genjutsu world called the World of Drunken Dreams. This was not a temporary seal. This was permanent imprisonment. The victim's consciousness would remain suspended in an eternal illusion inside the sake gourd, with no possibility of escape unless someone specifically released them using advanced sealing techniques. It was legendary that Orochimaru, one of the 3 legendary Sannin and a man who had spent decades searching for power and immortality, had been hunting for the Totsuka blade. He wanted it desperately because he understood how valuable an instant sealing weapon would be. Orochimaru never found it. Itachi somehow acquired both the Totsuka blade and the Yata mirror at an unknown point in his life, and no explanation was ever given for how he obtained them. They simply appeared as part of his Susanoo when he manifested it. With these 2 weapons combined, Itachi's Susanoo became both perfectly defended and capable of permanently removing any threat with a single strike. Orochimaru learned this lesson the hard way, twice. The first time, when both were members of Akatsuki, Orochimaru tried to steal Itachi's body to gain his Sharingan powers. He attempted a surprise attack, planning to transfer his soul into Itachi's body before Itachi could react. Itachi caught him in a genjutsu before Orochimaru even realized what happened, then cut off his hand as punishment. The whole confrontation lasted about 2 minutes in real time. Orochimaru fled from Akatsuki immediately after, knowing he could never challenge Itachi directly. Years later, during Sasuke's fight with Itachi, Orochimaru tried again. He emerged from Sasuke's cursed seal in his true form, the 8-headed serpent technique called Yamata no Jutsu, with all 8 snake heads attacking at once. Itachi summoned his Susanoo, cut off all 8 heads with the Totsuka blade, and sealed Orochimaru away permanently into the sake gourd. Orochimaru, one of the strongest and most dangerous villains in the series, got erased from existence in seconds without even touching Itachi. But Itachi's most impressive combat showing came during the 4th Great Ninja War when Kabuto resurrected him using Edo Tensei. Edo Tensei brought back dead ninja as immortal zombies with unlimited chakra and automatic regeneration. The technique was supposed to give Kabuto complete control over the resurrected ninja, forcing them to fight for him whether they wanted to or not. Itachi broke free from that control by using Kodowa Matsukami, the ultimate genjutsu technique that belonged to his friend Shisui Uchiha. Itachi had implanted a crow with Shisui's eye inside Naruto years earlier, programmed to activate when it sensed Itachi's chakra. When the crow emerged during the war, Itachi used it to cast Kodowa Matsukami on himself, overriding Kabuto's control with a new command to protect the Hidden Leaf Village. This meant Itachi regained his free will while still benefiting from Edo Tensei's immortality and unlimited chakra. Before freeing himself, Itachi fought alongside the resurrected Nagato against Naruto Uzumaki in Kurama Chakra mode and Killer Bee, the perfect Jinchuriki of the 8 tails. This was not a one-sided beatdown. Itachi and Nagato together managed to fight both Jinchuriki to a stalemate while under Kabuto's imperfect control. Itachi kept pace with KCM Naruto in taijutsu combat, matching his speed and reactions, despite Naruto's massive power boost from Ninetales chakra. Killer Bee, one of the most skilled ninja in the world and a master of multiple fighting styles, could not land a clean hit on Itachi. When Bee tried his signature lariat technique, Itachi dodged it effortlessly. The man's combat speed and prediction abilities were so refined that even 2 perfect Jinchuriki working together struggled to overwhelm him. After breaking free from control, Itachi helped Naruto and Bee defeat Nagato. Nagato had restored his mobility by absorbing 8 tails chakra from Killer Bee, making him far more dangerous than the crippled version who controlled the 6 paths of pain bodies. This mobile Nagato could use all his Rinnegan abilities directly, and he was pushing the Jinchuriki to their limits. He tried to rip out Naruto's soul using the human path technique. He fired massive attacks with the Asura path mechanical weapons. He summoned powerful creatures with the animal path. When all else failed, Nagato activated Chibaku Tensei, the same technique that nearly sealed Naruto during the Pain Invasion arc. This technique creates a massive gravitational pull that drags everything into a growing sphere of earth and rock, eventually forming a moon-sized prison. Naruto, Itachi, and Killer Bee combined their strongest long-range attacks to destroy the Chibaku Tensei core before it could fully form. Naruto fired a tailed beast bomb mixed with wind release, Rasen Shuriken. Killer Bee launched his own tailed beast bomb. Itachi used his Susanoo to throw Yasaka Magatama, curved projectiles of chakra that exploded on impact. Together, these 3 attacks shattered the core and stopped the sealing technique. Then, while Nagato was distracted and vulnerable, Itachi's Susanoo rushed forward through the dust cloud and pierced Nagato with the Totsuka blade, sealing him permanently. The battle was over. Itachi had neutralized one of the most powerful characters in the series using coordinated tactics and perfect timing. Itachi's combat intelligence separated him from other powerful ninja. He did not rely purely on overwhelming force. He analyzed his opponents, identified their weaknesses, and exploited them with surgical precision. Against Kabuto, later in the war, when Kabuto had absorbed multiple bloodline abilities and awakened Sage Mode, Itachi trapped him in Izanami, a forbidden genjutsu that created an infinite time loop. This technique did not require eye contact and could not be escaped through conventional means. Kabuto had to accept his true self and let go of his lies before the genjutsu would release him. While Kabuto was trapped, Itachi forced him to undo the Edo Tensei technique, releasing all the resurrected ninja and saving countless lives on the battlefield. The only things that held Itachi back were his terminal illness and his deteriorating eyesight. He suffered from a disease that caused him to cough up blood and weakened his body progressively. By the time he fought Sasuke, Itachi was running on fumes, barely able to stand, vision almost completely gone. Yet even in that state, he pushed Sasuke to his absolute limits and only died because he chose to. Black Zetsu himself stated that Itachi with the Yata Mirror and Totsuka Blade was essentially invincible. If Itachi had been healthy, if he had pursued power instead of sacrificing himself, if he had lived longer, he could have become one of the absolute strongest characters in the entire series. His Edo Tensei form during the war gave fans a glimpse of what a healthy Itachi with unlimited chakra looked like, and that version stood toe-to-toe with god-tier opponents. Itachi Uchiha never had Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He fought his entire life with regular Mangekyo eyes that were slowly killing him. But his mastery over those eyes, his tactical genius, his ethereal weapons, and his overwhelming genjutsu abilities made him a Kage-plus level threat. His hack-spaced defense with the Yata Mirror and his hack-spaced offense with the Totsuka Blade gave him tools that could counter almost anyone. He sealed Orochimaru twice without effort. He neutralized Nagato with coordinated tactics. He stalemated 2 perfect Jinchuriki simultaneously. And he did all of this while suffering from an illness that should have killed him years earlier. That is the legacy of Itachi Uchiha. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Nagato, Pain. Nagato, Pain. Nagato used the Rinnegan to control 6 dead bodies like puppets through chakra receivers called black rods. Each body could only use one specific ability from the Rinnegan, and they all shared vision through copies of the Rinnegan in their eyes. The first body Nagato chose was his dead best friend Yahiko, who became the Deva Path and the face everyone recognized as Pain. This technique let Nagato fight from a distance while his real body stayed hidden in a mechanical walker, weakened from connecting to the demonic statue of the Outer Path years earlier. The 6 paths of pain were built on Buddhist concepts of reincarnation. The Deva Path controlled gravity, pushing and pulling objects with Shinra Tensei and Bansho Tenin. The Asura Path turned its body into weapons with mechanical arms, missiles, and blades sprouting from nowhere. The human path ripped souls out by grabbing someone and reading their mind before killing them. The animal path summoned giant creatures like multi-headed dogs, rhinos, and crabs that kept regenerating. The Preta path absorbed any chakra-based attack, making most jutsu worthless against it. The Naraka path called up the King of Hell to heal damaged bodies and interrogate prisoners by pulling out their life force. Nagato started testing these abilities when Jiraiya infiltrated a Megakure looking for information about Akatsuki. Jiraiya caught one of the Rain Village ninja and forced him to lead the way, but the ninja refused to give up any details about Pain even under pressure. When Jiraiya finally met Pain face to face, he recognized the body as Yahiko and realized his former student had somehow survived. Konan appeared and attacked Jiraiya on Pain's orders, but Jiraiya quickly captured her and demanded answers about what happened to the orphans he trained years ago. Pain explained his plan to collect all the tailed beasts and create a weapon so destructive it would force the world to stop fighting wars out of pure fear. The fight escalated when Pain summoned a giant crustacean and Jiraiya responded by calling Gamaken. Pain hid himself inside an invisible chameleon and sent wave after wave of summons to overwhelm Jiraiya. Realizing he needed more power, Jiraiya trapped himself in a barrier and entered Sage Mode with help from the Elder Toads Fukasaku and Shima. His appearance changed with warts and toad features since he never fully mastered the transformation, but the boost in strength let him match 3 of Pain's bodies at once. The Elder Toads prepared a sound-based genjutsu that caught all 3 Pains in an illusion and froze them completely. Jiraiya thought he won and killed all 3 bodies. Another Pain body appeared from behind and cut off Jiraiya's left arm with 1 attack. 3 more bodies showed up right after, giving Jiraiya his first look at all 6 paths working together. The shared vision between the bodies countered every move Jiraiya tried. He recognized some of the corpses as ninja he met during his travels, people he wrote about in his books. The Asura path crushed Jiraiya's throat before he could warn Fukasaku about the secret he discovered. All 6 paths stabbed Jiraiya with black rods and pinned him to the ground underwater. Using the last bit of strength in his body, Jiraiya carved a coded message onto Fukasaku's back about Pain's true identity before the Asura path fired one final punch that sent him sinking into the water. Jiraiya died thinking about Naruto and believing his student would become the child of prophecy. Pain lost his animal path during the fight with Jiraiya and had to find a replacement body before attacking Konoha. He converted the corpse of a Rain Village kunoichi named Ajisai into a new animal path. When Pain and Konan arrived at the Hidden Leaf Village, they eliminated all the scouts around the barrier. The animal path entered alone to trick the barrier team into thinking only 1 invader got through, then summoned the other 5 paths, plus Konan once inside. The paths split up across the village, causing destruction in different areas. Pain interrogated villagers about Naruto's location, but every single person refused to talk even when facing death. One ninja told Konan to go to hell with a smile on his face despite knowing he was about to die. Tsunade confronted the Deva path and argued about Pain's twisted view of peace, but the human path captured her assistant Shizune and read her mind to discover Naruto was training at Mount Myoboku. Pain ordered Konan and the other paths to evacuate the village center. The Deva path floated into the sky and spoke the words that became legendary among fans. He said people needed to feel pain, contemplate pain, accept pain, and know pain to understand true peace. Then he unleashed a massive Shinra Tensei that flattened the entire Hidden Leaf Village from the center outward, creating a crater so deep it looked like a meteor hit. Tsunade used her remaining chakra to protect some villagers with Katsuyu, but most of the village turned into rubble and dust in seconds. The attack drained so much power from Nagato that the Deva path couldn't use any abilities for several minutes afterward. Naruto returned to find his home destroyed and learned that Kakashi died in the battle. He entered Sage Mode and confronted all 6 paths at once, with help from the giant toads Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamahiro, plus the Elder Toads. His eyes gained orange pigmentation around them, showing he mastered Sage Mode better than Jiraiya ever did. Naruto destroyed the Asura path with a single Rasengan as his entrance move, then used Frog Keita to knock out the Preta path despite it dodging his punch because natural energy extended past his fist. He threw a Rasen Shuriken at the remaining paths and caught the human path in the expanded radius, destroying it completely. Working with Gamabunta, Naruto trapped the animal path inside the toad's mouth, where it couldn't share vision with the other bodies, and destroyed it with close-range attacks. The Naraka path revived some of the destroyed bodies using the King of Hell, but Naruto adapted his strategy. He created shadow clones that gathered natural energy at Mount Myoboku. Then Fukasaku summoned one clone back when Naruto's Sage Mode ran out. Naruto absorbed the clone's stored chakra and instantly re-entered Sage Mode, a technique he invented specifically for this fight. Pain tried using the Preta path to absorb Naruto's chakra, but Sage Chakra disrupted its system and turned the body into a frog statue. Naruto eliminated the Naraka path and finally faced just the Deva path alone. When the Deva path's powers returned after the cooldown period, it pinned Naruto with black rods. Hinata jumped in to protect Naruto and got stabbed, which triggered Naruto to transform into his Six Tails form. The Nine Tails chakra gave Naruto so much power that he broke free and charged a tailed beast ball. Pain diverted the blast, causing another massive explosion that shook the ruins of Konoha. Needing more strength, the Deva path moved closer to Nagato's real location and used Chibaku Tensei to create a miniature moon that pulled everything into a giant floating sphere of earth and debris. Naruto pushed to 8 Tails and started breaking out of the gravitational prison. Inside his mind, the Nine Tails tried convincing Naruto to break the seal completely, but Minato appeared and revealed himself as Naruto's father. He repaired the seal and sent Naruto back to finish the fight properly. Naruto stabbed himself with one of Pain's chakra rods to track Nagato's location using Sage Mode sensing. He created an elaborate trap with multiple Rasen shurikens and shadow clones disguised as rocks. Pain used Shinra Tensei to deflect the first attack, then the 5-second cooldown kicked in again. Naruto rushed forward with a Rasengan during that window and landed a direct hit on the Deva path's body, finally defeating all 6 paths. Naruto tracked Nagato to a hidden tree and confronted the real person behind Pain for the first time. Nagato explained his backstory about losing Yahiko and choosing Pain as the path to peace. Naruto rejected that philosophy, but admitted he understood Nagato's suffering. Instead of killing Nagato, Naruto said he would find a better way to achieve peace while carrying the burden of their shared teacher, Jiraiya's dream. Nagato decided to believe in Naruto's answer and used the last of his chakra to perform Rinne Rebirth, a technique that revived everyone who died during the attack on Konoha. The technique cost Nagato his life. Konan took Nagato's body and Yahiko's body back to Omegakure and created a shrine for them. The village celebrated Naruto as a hero for the first time. People who insulted and avoided him his whole life now saw him as the savior who defeated the Akatsuki leader and brought back their loved ones from death. Pain's attack proved the Rinnegan could level entire villages with a single technique, making it clear why people called it the Eye of a God. Nagato showed that controlling 6 bodies simultaneously through shared vision created nearly unbeatable coordination in battle. Even someone as experienced as Jiraiya couldn't overcome the advantage of fighting multiple opponents who saw everything from 6 different angles at once. The fight also revealed Sage Mode as a power that could match the Rinnegan's abilities when used correctly, setting up natural energy as a counter to overwhelming chakra-based techniques. Naruto taking down 5 of the 6 paths despite Pain having home field advantage and full knowledge of all his mentor's techniques proved Sage Mode pushed physical abilities beyond normal ninja limits. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Madara Uchiha, 6 paths, Sage form. Madara Uchiha, 6 paths, Sage form. Madara Uchiha reached his absolute peak during the 4th Great Ninja War, when he became the Jinchuriki of the 10 Tails, and gained the full powers of the Sage of 6 Paths. This transformation put him in a league far beyond anything the shinobi world had ever seen. Before even absorbing the 10 Tails, Madara displayed power that seemed almost divine. He took on the entire 4th Division of the allied shinobi forces using only taijutsu and kenjutsu, dominating thousands of experienced shinobi with ease. His Sharingan allowed him to predict and evade their attacks, while his combat skills let him cut through their ranks like they were nothing. Even when Naruto arrived with his Sage Mode, Madara remained completely unfazed. The moment that truly showed the gap between Madara and everyone else came when he used Tengai Shinsei. People watching the battle felt helpless as they looked up at the sky and saw a massive meteorite descending toward them. The sheer size of this technique made the 4th Division question if it could even be called ninjutsu. Gaara believed the power was comparable to a god. Using 3 hand seals simultaneously through himself and his Susanoo, Madara pulled these enormous meteors from the upper atmosphere. Onoki and Gaara combined their strength to stop the first meteor, which alone was an incredible feat. But Madara simply summoned a second meteor to crash into the first one, guaranteeing destruction. The impact devastated a significant portion of the 4th Division, with tremors felt all the way from the border of the Land of Lightning to the Allied Shinobi Forces headquarters. Thousands died in that attack, and the survivors were left wounded and demoralized. When Madara finally absorbed the 10 Tails and became its Jinchuriki, his power shot through the roof. His body transformed as the beast merged with him, granting him access to abilities that put him on a completely different level from any normal shinobi. He gained the truth-seeking orbs, black spheres that could nullify almost any jutsu and disintegrate anything they touched. He could regenerate from virtually any wound using yin-yang release, making him nearly impossible to kill. Even being bisected would not put him down. The transformation gave him such tremendous chakra reserves and mastery over jutsu that he could fight multiple god-tier opponents simultaneously without breaking a sweat. One of his most impressive showings came when he faced Might Guy, who opened all 8 gates to access his maximum power. The 8 gates technique granted Guy strength that was hundreds of times greater than that of the 5 Cage combined. Guy pushed his body beyond human limits and bent space-time itself with pure taijutsu. His Evening Elephant and Night Guy techniques were so devastating that Madara himself acknowledged Guy as the strongest taijutsu user he had ever encountered. Despite this, Madara survived the assault. Guy nearly killed him with Night Guy, but even after taking that devastating blow, Madara regenerated from the damage. Had Minato, Kakashi, Gaara, and Lee not intervened to help Guy land his attacks and protect him from the truth-seeking orbs, Guy would have died to Madara's counter. After surviving Guy's assault, Madara faced an even greater challenge when Naruto and Sasuke received 6 Paths powers from Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Both of them gained tremendous strength that put them among the strongest characters in the series. Naruto gained 6 Paths Sage Mode, which combined the power of all 9-tailed beasts with natural energy and gave him abilities like flying and sensing all things. Sasuke awakened his Rinnegan and gained access to techniques like dimensional teleportation and space-time manipulation. Together, they were the only ones who could match Madara in combat. The 3 of them clashed repeatedly throughout the war, with Madara fighting both of them at once and holding his own. He used his Limbo clones, invisible shadow versions of himself that could only be detected by Rinnegan users, to attack from angles they could not predict. His Storm Release Light Fang technique shot a laser from his mouth that moved so fast even 6 Paths Naruto barely dodged it. Madara's status as a god-tier shinobi was confirmed when he absorbed the God Tree and gained even more power. At that point, only characters like Kaguya Otsutsuki and other 6 Paths users could rival him. His mastery of the Rinnegan let him absorb powerful attacks like Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. He could use all 5 nature transformations plus yin-yang release. The combination of his tactical genius, decades of combat experience, and overwhelming 6 Paths chakra made him a threat that required the combined efforts of the world's strongest shinobi to stop. Madara Uchiha in his 6 Paths Sage form represented the peak of what a human could achieve through power, even surpassing the legendary strength of Hashirama Senju, who he once considered his equal. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Hashirama Senju. Hashirama Senju. Hashirama Senju earned the title God of Shinobi during an era when shinobi clans fought endless wars against each other for survival. Born into the legendary Senju clan during the Warring States period, Hashirama possessed abilities that seemed almost mythical even to people who witnessed them firsthand. His unique wood-release Kekkei Genkai combined earth and water chakra natures to create and manipulate vegetation. But unlike other bloodline abilities that appeared across entire clans, only Hashirama could naturally use wood release. This power made him the only person capable of controlling tailed beasts without using genjutsu, which changed the entire shinobi world forever. His wood release went far beyond just creating trees and plants. Hashirama could spawn entire forests instantly with deep forest emergence, literally creating the landscape that would become Konohagakure in moments. He could summon massive wooden constructs like the wood golem, which stood tall enough to match the Nine Tails in size and strength. His wood dragon technique created serpentine dragons that wrapped around opponents and drained their chakra directly, leaving even the most powerful fighters helpless. The dragon could act independently while still following Hashirama's commands, slithering across battlefields to capture multiple targets simultaneously. The technique that really showed how far above everyone else Hashirama stood came from his Sage Mode combined with Wood Release. Hashirama mastered Sage Mode through methods that remain mysterious even today. Unlike Naruto, who learned from the toads at Mount Myoboku, or Kabuto, who trained with the snakes at Ryuchi Cave, Hashirama developed his own path to Senjutsu. The markings that appeared around his eyes and on his forehead when he entered Sage Mode looked completely different from other Sage Mode users, suggesting he learned this power independently or from a completely different source. Some believe he trained with the slugs at Shikatsu Forest, while others think his wood release gave him a natural connection to nature energy itself. What made his Sage Mode truly special was that he could activate it instantly without any preparation time, something that took other users minutes of perfect stillness to achieve. When Hashirama combined Sage Mode with his wood release, he could summon the Sage Art Wood Release, true several thousand hands technique. This massive Buddha statue dwarfed even complete Susanoo and the Nine Tails. The structure had 1,000 individual hands emerging from its back in countless rows, while the main body sat in a prayer position. These hands could detach and rain down on opponents like meteors through the top transformed Buddha technique, delivering devastating blows with enough force to shatter perfect Susanoo armor. The statue could also grab tailed beasts with ease and hold them completely immobilized. Hashirama would then use his Hokage-style 60-year-old technique to suppress the beast's chakra and remove any external control over it, which is exactly how he captured the Nine Tails. The battle between Hashirama and Madara at the Valley of the End became one of the most legendary fights in shinobi history. Madara arrived with the full power of his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and had taken control of the Nine Tails using his ocular abilities. He rode atop Kurama while the beast was encased in Madara's perfect Susanoo armor, creating a combination of power that seemed unstoppable. The clash between Hashirama's true several thousand hands and Madara's Susanoo-clad Nine Tails carved out the valley itself. Their battle lasted so long that both fighters could go for over 24 hours without rest, with Hashirama showing no signs of fatigue even after that duration. The tremors from their attacks and the devastation from a single deflected tailed beast ball created the massive scar in the earth that would become known as the Valley of the End. Hashirama possessed additional techniques that showcased just how versatile his arsenal really was. He could summon multiple Rashomon gates, massive defensive barriers that not only blocked incoming attacks but could deflect their trajectory entirely. When the Nine Tails fired a tailed beast ball during their final battle, Hashirama summoned 5 layers of Rashomon positioned at different angles to redirect the attack away from the battlefield. His Gracious Deity Gates technique allowed him to pin down even the 10 Tails during the Fourth Great Ninja War, with massive red torii falling from the sky to completely immobilize targets while draining their chakra. Throughout the fight, Hashirama tried reasoning with Madara, but his former friend refused to listen. Hashirama eventually separated Madara from Kurama using his wood release techniques, then used a wood clone as a distraction while he positioned himself behind Madara. When Madara became too exhausted to even maintain his Sharingan, Hashirama stabbed him in the back. Madara appeared to die from this wound, though he had secretly activated Izanagi using flesh he had taken from Hashirama during their battle. After defeating Madara, Hashirama subdued the Nine Tails, and his wife, Mito Uzumaki, sealed the beast within herself, becoming its first Jinchuriki. His healing abilities set him apart from every other shinobi in history except his granddaughter Tsunade, who later developed the Creation Rebirth technique, trying to replicate what came naturally to Hashirama. Wounds that would kill normal shinobi simply closed up on Hashirama without him needing to perform any jutsu or use medical ninjutsu. This regeneration was so powerful that people who received transplants of his cells no longer needed food or water to survive. His body contained such immense vitality that he could fight non-stop for 24 hours while remaining at peak strength. As the first Hokage, Hashirama distributed the other tailed beasts he had captured among the newly formed hidden villages in an attempt to maintain peace through balanced power. His strength was so overwhelming that Kabuto stated no shinobi in the modern era could match his level of power, with many considering his abilities to be fairy tales like the Sage of Six Paths himself. Even decades after his death, people still spoke of Hashirama Senju as the strongest shinobi who ever lived before the age of Six Paths powers. His wood release became so coveted that Orochimaru conducted experiments on 60 children using Hashirama's cells, with only Yamato surviving but possessing abilities far weaker than the original. Hashirama Senju represented the absolute peak of what a shinobi could achieve in the pre-Six Paths era. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Sasuke Uchiha, Six Paths Power. Sasuke Uchiha, Six Paths Power. Sasuke Uchiha reached his absolute pinnacle during and after the Fourth Great Ninja War when he awakened the Rinnegan and received Six Paths powers directly from Hagoromo Otsutsuki himself. This transformation elevated him from an extremely powerful shinobi into one of only two mortals to reach God-tier status, standing as the sole rival to Six Paths Naruto. Sasuke's journey to this level of power was brutal and hard-earned, requiring him to push past the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and into territory that only a handful of beings in history had ever touched. The Rinnegan awakening happened at a critical moment. After being stabbed through the chest by Madara Uchiha and left in a near-death state, Sasuke met Hagoromo in the space between life and death. Unlike Madara, who had to steal Hashirama's cells and wait decades for his Rinnegan to manifest, Sasuke received his directly from the Sage of Six Paths himself. Hagoromo recognized Sasuke as the reincarnation of his son Indra and granted him half of his divine chakra, marked by a crescent moon seal on his left palm. This caused Sasuke's left Sharingan to evolve into a unique Rinnegan with 6 tomoe arranged around its rings, representing its full power and distinguishing it from every other Rinnegan in history. This wasn't just any Rinnegan. Sasuke's version retained all the abilities of his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan while adding the overwhelming powers of the Rinnegan on top of it. He could still use Amaterasu, the black flames that burn hotter than the sun itself and cannot be extinguished. He could still manifest his perfect Susanoo, now enhanced with Six Paths chakra to levels that allowed it to contest with Kaguya Otsutsuki's raw power. But now he had access to the Six Paths technique as well, granting him abilities like the Deva Path to control attraction and repulsion forces, and the Preta Path to absorb any chakra-based attack thrown at him. Kurama himself stated that Sasuke's mastery of these paths rivaled even the Sage of Six Paths, which speaks volumes about how quickly Sasuke adapted to godly power. The Rinnegan's signature ability for Sasuke was Ameno Tejikara, a space-time technique that allowed him to instantly swap positions with any object or person within his range. This wasn't teleportation in the traditional sense, but rather an instantaneous exchange that happened faster than the eye could track. Initially, Sasuke could only use this ability within a limited range and needed line of sight. But over time, his mastery grew to the point where he could teleport across vast distances and even open portals to different dimensions. The chakra cost for dimensional travel was massive, draining his Rinnegan's tomoe temporarily, but it gave him access to a level of mobility that made him nearly impossible to pin down in combat. Sasuke's battle performance against Kaguya Otsutsuki proved just how far he'd come. Kaguya was the progenitor of all chakra, the mother of the Sage of Six Paths, and according to both Naruto and Sasuke, significantly more powerful than even Ten Tails Madara at his peak. She possessed abilities that bent reality itself, including Yomotsu Hirasaka, which allowed her to teleport through dimensional rifts faster than Sasuke's Ameno Tejikara, and all-killing ash bones that disintegrated anything they touched on contact. When Kaguya caught Sasuke individually, she crushed his perfect Susanoo with her chakra-enhanced physical strikes and sent him to another dimension where he would have been trapped if not for the massive amount of chakra required to escape. Despite being outmatched individually, Sasuke played a critical role in the battle. He attempted to strike Kaguya with a Chidori enhanced by Ameno Tejikara, instantly teleporting to her position, but even with the element of surprise, she dodged the attack. He used his Rinnegan to resist the pull of the infinite Tsukuyomi, the genjutsu that had trapped the entire world. His perfect Susanoo provided shelter for Team 7 when they were being bombarded by Kaguya's dimension-destroying attacks. And when it came time to seal Kaguya away, Sasuke's Crescent Moon Seal was essential to the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei technique that finally imprisoned the goddess. Without his contributions, the battle would have been unwinnable. What's remarkable is that during his fights against both Madara and Kaguya, Sasuke was still getting used to the Rinnegan. He openly admitted during his final battle with Naruto that only at that point was he truly beginning to understand and control the Eye's full potential. This means every feat he accomplished during the war arc was performed while he was essentially still learning how to use his new powers, making his performance even more impressive and suggesting that his actual peak was still ahead of him. That peak revealed itself in the final battle at the Valley of the End. Sasuke used his Rinnegan to trap all 9-tailed beasts in individual Chibaku Tensei satellites and absorbed chakra from each of them to power up his perfect Susanoo even further. This transformed his Susanoo into what fans call Indra Susanoo, a more humanoid and agile form wreathed in lightning that represented the absolute pinnacle of his power. With the combined might of all the tailed beasts channeling through him, Sasuke created Indra's Arrow, the single most powerful attack he would ever perform. This massive lightning arrow, fired from his Susanoo's bow, contained enough energy to counter Naruto's tailed beast Rasen Shuriken, despite lightning style typically being disadvantaged against wind style. The collision between these two ultimate techniques was visible from space and permanently reshaped the landscape of the Valley of the End, decapitating the massive statues of Madara and Hashirama that had stood there for decades. Even after that devastating exchange, when both fighters were completely drained of chakra and reduced to hand-to-hand combat, Sasuke continued fighting at a level that forced Naruto to his absolute limit. He created a Chidori infused with Amaterasu's black flames for one final strike, while Naruto formed his last Rasengan with Kurama's remaining chakra. The clash destroyed what little remained of the valley, and both combatants lost their dominant arms in the explosion. The fight ended in a draw, with Sasuke finally acknowledging that Naruto's bonds made him stronger, not weaker. Sasuke's power continued growing after the war. By the time of Boruto, he was stated by the author to be equal to adult Naruto, despite Naruto having received the second half of Kurama after their battle, suggesting Sasuke had trained intensely to close what should have been a growing gap. He casually destroyed half a meteor with a Chidori in the last movie. During the fight against Momoshiki Otsutsuki, an enemy that even Kaguya feared, Sasuke held his own despite having just transported 8 people across dimensions, a feat that normally would have severely depleted his chakra reserves. He destroyed Momoshiki's Rinnegan and trapped him in his own jutsu, proving he could compete with threats on Kaguya's level even while significantly nerfed. The scaling for Six Paths Sasuke places him in an extremely exclusive tier. Pre-Six Paths, he was already one of the strongest shinobi alive, capable of fighting relative to Edo Madara while exhausted. Post-Six Paths, he jumped into a category that included only a handful of beings: Kaguya Otsutsuki, Six Paths Naruto, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, and later threats like Momoshiki and Ishiki. He surpassed every other Uchiha in history, including Madara at his peak, becoming the strongest member of his legendary clan. His versatility was unmatched, combining the visual prowess of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the overwhelming abilities of the Rinnegan, the raw power of Six Paths Chakra, and the tactical genius that had always defined his fighting style. Sasuke Uchiha, with Six Paths powers, represented the absolute peak of what a mortal shinobi could achieve. He wielded the power of gods while maintaining the cunning and skill that made him dangerous even without supernatural abilities. His journey from a revenge-driven genin to a guardian of the entire shinobi world showcased growth that went far beyond simple power increases. By the end, Sasuke stood as living proof that even in a world of reincarnations and divine inheritances, individual will and determination could still reach the highest peaks. He was no longer just the last Uchiha or Naruto's rival. He was one of 2 shinobi who reached a level of power that transcended mortality itself, standing as an equal to the man who would become Hokage and as a defender against threats that could destroy entire dimensions. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to one of the strongest characters in the entire series, Naruto Uzumaki, Baryon Mode. Naruto Uzumaki, Baryon Mode. Naruto Uzumaki achieved his absolute peak during the Boruto era when he unlocked Baryon Mode, a transformation so powerful and dangerous that it temporarily elevated him beyond even Six Paths levels and stands as the highest mortal feat in the entire series. This wasn't just another power-up in Naruto's long history of transformations. Baryon Mode represented the ultimate sacrifice, a last-ditch gamble that would cost him everything he'd built with Kurama over decades of partnership. The form only emerged because Naruto faced an enemy so overwhelmingly powerful that no other option remained. That enemy was Ishiki Otsutsuki, and understanding why Baryon Mode matters requires understanding just how terrifying Ishiki truly was. Ishiki wasn't just another Otsutsuki. He was Kaguya's partner and her superior in the clan hierarchy, meaning he outranked the goddess who had served as Naruto's final villain. When Ishiki fought Naruto and Sasuke in his incomplete Jigen vessel, he dominated both of them simultaneously without taking a single scratch. These weren't the teenage versions who barely survived Kaguya. These were adult Naruto and Sasuke at their absolute prime, with Naruto having gained the other half of Kurama after the war, and both having years of experience fighting god-tier threats. Ishiki sealed Naruto in a massive container and shrank it to microscopic size, trapping the Hokage where he couldn't escape without space-time ninjutsu. He nearly killed Sasuke multiple times. And this was Ishiki severely nerfed because Jigen's body couldn't properly contain his full power. When Ishiki finally resurrected in his true form after Jigen's body gave out, the situation became even more desperate. His ocular jutsu, Sukuna Hikona, allowed him to shrink anything non-living down to microscopic sizes instantly, making conventional attacks useless. He could summon massive black cubes from a pocket dimension to crush his opponents. His physical abilities were so extreme that even Six Paths Sage Mode Naruto couldn't keep up with him. According to Amato, if Ishiki successfully implanted his karma in Kawaki and resurrected at full power, he would become strong enough to effortlessly destroy the entire Earth with no one able to stop him. This was the level of threat Naruto faced, and every conventional option had already failed. That's when Kurama revealed the existence of Baryon Mode. The mechanics of this transformation were unlike anything Naruto had used before. Instead of Kurama lending Naruto his chakra, or the two merging their chakra together as they'd done countless times, Baryon Mode used their chakra as raw materials in a process similar to nuclear fusion. Just like how the sun creates energy by fusing hydrogen atoms together and producing massive amounts of power as a byproduct, Naruto and Kurama's chakra would undergo fusion to create an entirely new type of energy. The increase in power was so tremendous that it shocked both Ishiki and Sasuke, with Sasuke's Sharingan detecting chakra levels he'd never seen before. But there was a catastrophic cost. Using this fusion process rapidly consumed both their chakra and their life forces with every passing second. Kurama warned Naruto to avoid any unnecessary movements because even 0.1% of wasted energy brought them closer to death. If they pushed too far or used the form too recklessly, one or both of them would die. The form was a double-edged sword that required perfect calculation and efficiency. Every attack had to count. Every movement had to serve a purpose. There was no room for showboating or inefficiency because the clock was ticking down to oblivion. What Kurama didn't tell Naruto until it was too late was that he alone would shoulder the burden. Naruto believed they would both die using this form, making it a mutual sacrifice to save the world. In reality, Kurama knew from the start that only he would be consumed. Once Baryon Mode ran its course, Kurama's entire being would be destroyed, erasing him from existence and leaving Naruto without any of the Nine Tails chakra forever. Kurama deliberately hid this truth because he knew Naruto would never use the form if it meant losing his partner. So, the Fox made the choice for both of them, deciding that saving Naruto's life and protecting the world was worth sacrificing his own existence. When Naruto activated Baryon Mode, the transformation was visually striking. His hair became longer and spikier, with two tufts resembling fox ears emerging from each side of his head. His whiskers thickened dramatically. The pigments around his eyes grew and curved until they perfectly matched Kurama's eyes. Most impressively, his chakra cloak manifested 9 red chakra tails that formed a flowing cape behind him. The sheer presence of this form was overwhelming, with Naruto's voice taking on a reverberating quality that made him sound truly divine. The power boost was beyond anything Ishiki had anticipated. Naruto went from being completely outclassed to absolutely dominating the strongest Otsutsuki in history. His reflexes, speed, and strength increased to levels that surpassed even Ishiki's capabilities. When Ishiki launched his black rods, projectiles that had been moving so fast that Sasuke's Sharingan couldn't track them, Baryon Mode Naruto casually snatched them out of the air with his bare hands before they visibly enlarged. His movement speed became so extreme that neither Sasuke's Sharingan nor Ishiki's Byakugan could properly follow him, reminiscent of his father Minato's legendary speed. The fight itself was a masterclass in dominance. Naruto ducked and dodged every attack Ishiki threw at him with an almost casual ease. He caught Ishiki's projectiles with his chakra cloak and threw them back. He blocked strikes with one hand while beckoning Ishiki forward with the other, displaying a level of confidence and swagger that showed just how massive the power gap had become. His taijutsu was flawless, effortlessly parrying and countering every move Ishiki attempted. When he switched to ninjutsu, flying through the air to catch Ishiki with a gravity-enhanced giant Rasengan, the attack landed with devastating effect. For the first time in the entire battle, Ishiki was the one being overwhelmed and outpaced. But Baryon Mode had a secret weapon beyond just raw power. Kurama explained that because all chakra is fundamentally connected, every time Naruto made physical contact with an opponent, the life-draining effect of the form would transfer to them as well. This meant Ishiki wasn't just being beaten down physically. His lifespan was being consumed with every punch, every kick, every moment of contact. Ishiki had roughly 20 hours left to live in his current body before it gave out completely. Naruto's strategy wasn't to kill Ishiki outright, but to drain his remaining time until his body failed. Every successful hit shortened Ishiki's lifespan, and within minutes of fighting Baryon Mode Naruto, those 20 hours had dropped to roughly 30 minutes and kept falling. Ishiki realized what was happening and adapted his strategy, becoming more defensive and trying to avoid direct contact while waiting for Naruto's form to burn out. As time passed, the drawbacks of Baryon Mode became increasingly apparent. Naruto began to slow down, his movements losing their earlier precision. His attacks weakened. He started coughing up blood. The form was consuming him from the inside, burning through his life force at an accelerating rate. Ishiki capitalized on this, choking Naruto, landing devastating strikes to his gut, and performing a thunder stomp from the sky that left Naruto's eyes rolling white. Despite the physical toll, Naruto had achieved his objective. By the time Baryon Mode finally gave out, Ishiki's lifespan had been reduced to mere minutes. The Otsutsuki was on borrowed time, desperately trying to reach Kawaki to implant a new karma before his current body failed. Naruto had successfully stalled the most powerful enemy he'd ever faced, buying enough time for Kawaki to make the final play that would ultimately doom Ishiki. The strongest Otsutsuki in history died not from being overpowered in a final clash, but from running out of time, his life force completely drained by repeated contact with Baryon Mode. But victory came at the ultimate price. When the form ended and the battle concluded, Kurama began to fade. Naruto realized too late what his partner had done. Understanding that Kurama had lied about them both dying because he knew Naruto would never accept that sacrifice. The Ninetales who had been sealed inside him since birth, who had gone from prisoner to partner to best friend, was disappearing forever. Kurama's final moments were spent reassuring Naruto that this was his choice, that Naruto didn't need to feel guilty, and that their partnership had been everything he'd hoped for. Then Kurama was gone, his chakra and consciousness completely erased, leaving Naruto without the power that had defined him for his entire life. The scaling for Baryon Mode Naruto places him in a category all his own. This form temporarily pushed him beyond the Six Paths levels that had defined the peak of the war arc. He dominated Ishiki Otsutsuki, an enemy who had casually defeated both adult Naruto and Sasuke working together. Ishiki himself was stated to be higher ranked and more powerful than Kaguya, meaning Baryon Mode surpassed the power of the woman who had served as the ultimate villain of the original series. No other mortal transformation in the franchise's history has displayed this level of raw power. Even Six Paths Sage Mode Naruto, fighting alongside Rinnegan Sasuke, couldn't scratch Ishiki. Baryon Mode Naruto overwhelmed him individually. The form represents the absolute peak of what a mortal shinobi can achieve through a temporary transformation, though calling it temporary almost seems wrong given that it can only be used once and costs everything. Naruto cannot access Baryon Mode ever again, Without Kurama, the fusion process that created it is impossible to replicate. This makes it both his strongest and his most tragic form, a power so great that it came at a price no victory could truly justify. Baryon Mode Naruto stands as proof that even in a world of godlike aliens and reality-warping powers, human determination and the bonds between partners can still reach heights that surpass everything else. It was the highest a mortal could fly before the inevitable fall, the brightest light before the darkness, and the last time Naruto Uzumaki would fight with the Nine Tails by his side. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Finally, we've arrived at who's arguably the strongest character in all of Naruto, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Kaguya Otsutsuki. Kaguya Otsutsuki represents the absolute apex of the canonical power hierarchy in Naruto, a being so overwhelmingly powerful that she transcends every other character in the original series and stands as the ultimate benchmark for god-tier strength. Long before the hidden villages existed, before shinobi clans formed, before chakra was even a concept humans understood, Kaguya arrived on Earth from another world as a member of the celestial Otsutsuki clan. Her story is both the beginning and the culmination of everything that happens in the Naruto world, making her quite literally the mother of all the series' conflicts. Kaguya came to Earth alongside her partner Ishiki Otsutsuki with a singular mission: plant a god tree, harvest its chakra fruit, and deliver it back to the Otsutsuki clan's main family. But Kaguya had other plans. She betrayed Ishiki in a brutal ambush, catching him off guard and tearing his body nearly in half, leaving him for dead. This betrayal allowed her to claim the chakra fruit for herself, an act that would fundamentally alter the course of human history. When she consumed that fruit, Kaguya became the first being on Earth to wield chakra, transforming from a powerful alien into something approaching true divinity. The immediate effects were staggering. Kaguya pacified the entire war-torn world by herself, ending conflicts that had raged for generations through sheer overwhelming force. People worshipped her in fear as the rabbit goddess, a deity beyond their comprehension. Even her son Hagoromo, who would later become the legendary Sage of Six Paths, openly admitted that his mother's power was superior to his own and Hamura's combined. It took Hagoromo and Hamura several months of continuous fighting at the peak of their abilities to finally seal her away, and they couldn't even kill her because Kaguya had become truly immortal after eating the chakra fruit. Her immortality wasn't hyperbole or metaphor. Kaguya could regenerate from any wound, regrowing severed limbs instantly and recovering from damage that would obliterate any other character. The only method of defeating her was sealing, which is why Hagoromo gave Naruto and Sasuke the sun and moon seals required for the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei. Without those specific seals granted by the sage himself, there was no way to stop her. She could take hits from Naruto's Sage Art Ultra Big Ball Rasen Shuriken, enhanced with all nine-tailed beasts' chakra, and walk away with superficial damage. She tanked 9 different variations of Rasen Shuriken simultaneously, attacks that would have vaporized entire countries, and barely flinched. Kaguya's visual prowess alone put her in a category beyond anyone else. She wielded the Byakugan in both eyes, granting her near 360-degree vision with only a small blind spot and the ability to see through virtually anything. But more importantly, she possessed the Rinne Sharingan, a third eye on her forehead that represented the pinnacle of ocular power in the series. This eye contained 9 tomoe arranged around concentric circles and gave her access to abilities that warped reality itself. With it, she could cast infinite Tsukuyomi on select individuals, or the entire planet, trapping them in an inescapable genjutsu while the god tree drained their chakra and transformed them into white Zetsu soldiers for her army. Her dimensional abilities made conventional combat almost meaningless. Through Amanamanaka, Kaguya could instantly create new dimensions and teleport herself along with anyone around her into those spaces. She had complete control over 6 interconnected dimensions, each with its own unique properties that she could manipulate at will. One dimension was filled with lava that would instantly incinerate anyone who fell in. Another was a frozen wasteland, where she flash froze Naruto and Sasuke the moment they arrived. She had an acid dimension with corrosive seas, a dimension with such increased gravity that it brought people to their knees, and her core dimension that connected all the others together. These weren't just pocket spaces. Her dimensions contained planets, stars, and full celestial systems, representing truly massive constructs that she could travel between instantaneously through Yomotsu Hirasaka, opening rifts in space itself. The environmental manipulation within her dimensions gave Kaguya another terrifying advantage. She could merge with nature in these spaces, controlling ice, snow, and the landscape itself to attack opponents before they could react. When fighting in her ice dimension, she became one with the frozen environment and could emerge from any surface to strike. The dimensions themselves became weapons, with Kaguya reshaping entire battlefields to suit her needs, while her opponents struggled just to survive the hostile environments. Her all-killing ash bones represented an instant kill technique that disintegrated anything they touched into piles of ash. These weaponized bones could be launched from her hands or back and moved so fast that even six-path Sage Mode Naruto barely dodged them. When one of these bones struck Obito, it killed him instantly and completely, erasing him with no possibility of regeneration despite his connection to the Ten Tails. The speed and lethality of this ability made every exchange with Kaguya a life-or-death gamble where a single mistake meant instant death. Her physical abilities, while not her primary focus, were still absurd. Kaguya's 80 Gods Vacuum Fist technique allowed her to create massive chakra fists that dwarfed anything the tailed beasts could produce. She destroyed Sasuke's perfect Susanoo with these chakra strikes, shattering a defense that had withstood attacks from Madara Uchiha. In exchanges with Naruto, she overpowered him in physical combat despite Naruto possessing Six Paths Sage Mode and Tailed Beast Chakra. She moved so fast that she appeared behind Sakura in the blink of an eye and reacted quickly enough to dodge Sasuke's Amino Tejikara enhanced Chidori, even after having to switch dimensions first. But Kaguya's most devastating ability was the expansive truth-seeking ball, and this technique alone cements her position at the absolute top of the power scale. By absorbing chakra from all the people trapped in infinite Tsukuyomi through the God Tree, she created a massive black sphere that contained all 5 elemental nature transformations plus yin-yang release. This wasn't just a big attack. According to Black Zetsu, the ETSB had the power to reduce her entire dimension to nothing and reshape it from scratch, essentially serving as the start of a new time-space. Kakashi confirmed that if it grew too large, they wouldn't be able to return to the dimension because there wouldn't be a dimension to return to. The technique would expand continuously until it had completely erased the existing space-time and created a new one in its place. The scaling implications of this attack are staggering. Kaguya's dimensions contained planets and stars, meaning the ETSB was capable of obliterating celestial bodies and restructuring reality on a cosmic scale. While this technique required absorbing chakra from the infinite Tsukuyomi victims and couldn't be spammed, it represented a level of destructive potential that no other technique in the series could match. This was reality warping power on a scale that dwarfed anything Madara, Obito, or any other villain had displayed. As the progenitor of all chakra on Earth, Kaguya could absorb any technique thrown at her and nullify ninjutsu through her mastery of yin-yang release. She had access to all 5 elemental nature transformations and every chakra nature in existence. Her reserves were so vast that Naruto and Sasuke, who each possessed half of Hagoromo's chakra, were completely outclassed in terms of raw chakra volume. Black Zetsu stated that Kaguya had more chakra than the Ten Tails itself, which should be impossible given that she had merged with it, but spoke to just how much power she'd accumulated over millennia of absorbing the planet's energy. The battle against Team 7 showcased just how overwhelming Kaguya truly was. Naruto and Sasuke had defeated Madara Uchiha, who had been built up as the ultimate villain and possessed powers that seemed unbeatable. But Kaguya made Madara look like a warm-up act. She overwhelmed both Naruto and Sasuke repeatedly, despite them having Six Paths powers. She required the coordinated efforts of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Obito working together with multiple sacrifices and perfectly timed strategies just to create openings. Even then, they couldn't defeat her through combat. The only victory condition was touching her with both the Sun and Moon seals simultaneously to activate the sealing jutsu Hagoromo had prepared specifically for this scenario. What makes Kaguya's power even more terrifying is that she was operating at a disadvantage during most of the battle. She had just been revived and was still regaining her full strength. Her combat experience was minimal compared to Naruto and Sasuke, who had spent years fighting in brutal wars and honing their skills. She relied heavily on raw power and hacks abilities rather than refined technique. Yet she still dominated the fight through sheer overwhelming force. A Kaguya with actual combat training and tactical intelligence would have been functionally unstoppable. The emotional and narrative weight of her character can't be ignored either. Kaguya represented the origin point for every conflict in the series. The Sharingan, Byakugan, and Rinnegan all descended from her bloodline. The tailed beasts existed because her chakra was divided after she merged with the 10 tails. The entire ninja system, all the wars, all the hatred, every major event in Naruto's history traced back to Kaguya's consumption of the chakra fruit and her subsequent sealing. She wasn't just the final villain, she was the source code from which everything else emerged. In terms of canonical power hierarchy, Kaguya sits alone at the top of the original Naruto series. Ishiki Otsutsuki from Boruto is stated to be her superior in rank within the clan and demonstrated greater combat skill, but Kaguya's immortality, her dimension-destroying ETSB, and the fact that she nearly killed Ishiki in their past encounter make direct comparisons complicated. Within the Naruto series proper, though, she is definitively the strongest. Naruto and Sasuke could fight Madara, they could eventually contest with Momoshiki, but against Kaguya, they needed every advantage, every ally, and every bit of Hagoromo's blessing just to seal her away. Kaguya Otsutsuki represents the absolute ceiling of power in the Naruto world before the Boruto-era power creep. She was a goddess made manifest, a being who consumed a fruit that held the life energy of an entire planet and achieved immortality and reality warping abilities as a result. Her dimensions, her instant kill techniques, her ability to absorb all chakra, and her expansive truth-seeking ball that could erase and recreate existence itself put her on a level that transcended everything the series had built toward. She was the ultimate threat, the final boss, the mother of chakra, and the rabbit goddess whose shadow loomed over every event in shinobi history. No one could kill her. They could only hope to seal her away and pray she never escaped again. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.